everybody, and welcome to the XPClassicJets channel, where I talk about simulating classic jet airliners in X-Plane. So today's video is a bit of an Altimeter Fest. Probably sounds more exciting than it actually is, but it's all about altimeters, as you can see on the screen there. And yesterday I was working away on the Boeing 720. I've got the flight engineers panel mocked up, and by that I mean all the positioning of sub panels and gauges, switches, lights, etc. So I'll get cracking with some basic coding on that fairly soon and make sure that it all does what I think it ought to do, and hopefully then I can get the flight engineers panels finished fairly quickly. And the beauty is that this technique that I'm trying out on the 720 should transfer across to the Boeing 727 as well, so we can get the flight engineers panel done on that fairly quickly. I then moved on to the captains and first officers panels, and we've got the airspeed indicator all drawn out and working, and we've got the Mach meter all drawn out and working. And then I thought, okay, right, next one, altimeter. So here we go. On the screen here, down on the bottom right of this block of 4, is the altimeter for the Boeing 720 with thousands of feet showing in a drum here on the right of the instrument. And after that, I thought, any more altimeters to do? And yes, there was. The next one is actually this one up here, and it's the metric altimeter for the 747-200, and it's based upon this unit here. It's a Lufthansa aircraft. It's on display at the museum at Speyer, I think you pronounce it, although somebody German out there will tell me that I've murdered that pronunciation, so sorry about that. There's a few pictures on the internet. I also had a page from the operating manual for the aircraft, so I've cobbled something together that looks like that, and I hope I've done it justice, but it seems to work as the manual says. Actually, the one thing I noticed there is there are actually flathead screws around the bezel, and I've got crosshead screws here, so I'll change the visual. So let's get it as close to reality as we possibly can. And if anyone's been to the museum, if anyone's got any high resolution pictures of the panels, particularly the mode control panel, I'd love to hear from you, because getting good graphics to draw these instruments is the toughest thing of this whole process. And you say to yourself, well, you know, why do you need a metric altimeter? And the reason is, back in the day, that large chunks of the world, really, the former Soviet Union, East Europe, China, various other countries, their airspace was all delineated and designated in meters. And so instead of being given clearances and altitudes in feet, you were given them in meters. So let me take some charts from, where have we got? We've got Prague from 1990, and this is a standard arrival chart. We've got altitude shown in meters, and we've also got altitude shown in feet as well, because these charts are for use by Western operators, so they had both showing on them. So air traffic provided all altitude information in meters. And whilst you have the stuff on the charts, when you're flying a jet at several hundred knots, you don't really want to be faffing around converting or looking at charts or whatever just to try and figure out what altitude you should be at. So many operators who flew into those parts of the world installed specific metric altimeters that allowed the pilots literally just to fly the aeroplane specifically at metric altitudes. And there's a couple of different types here. One is this digital repeater, which is actually tied into the captain's foot altimeter, the standard, the main altimeter on the aircraft, and it just converted those imperial measurements into meters. So the altitude you're at, and also the altitude you have selected on the mode control panel or on your altitude selector. And British Airways had these fitted on their 737-400s, or a dedicated metric altimeter was fitted. Normally just one on the captain's side. This big one here is, as I've said before, is the 747 Classic that Lufthansa used. The smaller one is Lufthansa's metric altimeter on their 737-300s. So let me just on a separate machine. I'm just going to get an aeroplane up into the air, and you can see some dials moving. And we're in the Boeing 720. I'm sorry, I'm not going to give you the joy of an outside view here or any other instrument except a whole bunch of altimeters. We're just about to take off from the old Athens Hellinikon airport. Let's rotate, and we should start to see some, there we go, start to see some needles moving. Let's get the gear up, and we'll just settle the aeroplane into a climb. So on the bottom right of these four, we've got the Boeing 720 altimeter. Above that is 727, 737. Then to the left of that is the 747 Classic, and below that is a more modern digital unit which I've seen installed on Canadian 737-200s, for example. These are all tied into the captain's side, so change the altimeter setting on one, it'll change it on all of them, and also the metric repeater is tied in directly, so that's literally just reading the info off your encoding altimeter and converting it to meters. And then these two dedicated metric units are completely standalone, completely separate. They're separate from the captain's side, they're separate from the first officer, they're separate from the standby. So in fact on my aircraft, on my panels, you can have potentially 4 different altimeters running, all independent. And in fact they're separate as well between the 7.3 unit and the 7.4 unit as well. So it took me a wee while to get the mechanics all going, but I got that all coded last week, so it seems to be smooth as anything. So there we go, that's it. Very, very quick, just to give you an overview of all the different types of instrument which are available across the board for the different aeroplanes that I'm reproducing. It's most definitely not a case of one instrument fits all. You'll find instruments that are appropriate specifically to the aeroplane type that you're getting panels for. Well, that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed this. Next time round, hopefully I'll be looking at a bit more at the Boeing 720, and we've got one hell of a climb rate going on at the moment, but at least it shows you things working. If I just slow that down a bit, there we go. Let's put it into a descent. You can see that the needles do actually rotate in the other direction as well. But anyway, that's it for now. Have fun, happy flying, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks very much. Bye.